Chaplin, good balance scoring. Artest with 24, O'Neal had 20, Crozier 15, Tinsley 13, and Jackson with 12. All 5 starters in double figures.
The Pacers have played a very intelligent game tonight.
Then Wallace is fouled, and Wallace did. Oh, Wallace right at Artest. This has potential to be serious if they don't get between. Wallace upset. Players trying to hold each other off. Steven Jackson and Rasheed Wallace trying to be peacemakers. Now Jackson yelling. Wallace still going. You need the coaches in there to get him away. Jackson challenging Derek Coleman. Somebody should just get Jackson out of there. That's what causes the problem. Rasheed Wallace did an excellent job trying to keep everybody away and trying to keep the peace. But it started after Artest with a hard foul on Wallace after he got behind him. And then Ben Wallace came over with the shove. And an ugly way for this one to wind down.
Totally uncalled for.
I want to see the foul again because it appeared Wallace was past him and Artest shoved him. And that's what Wallace took exception to, but you still can't react that way. You've got to let it go.
That's not that hard of a foul.
It's not a normal foul, but not that hard. And Ben Wallace can't react that way. Wallace is still charged up. Now, Wallace, I would assume, has been ejected. The way Steven Jackson's carrying on, they should eject him as well.
They need to somehow find a way to get this game over with as quickly as possible.
The problem is, if Wallace is ejected, I'm not sure, he'd have to walk past the Pacer bench to go. Now Artest has jumped over the scorer's table and is trying to get down to the bench. Artest is in the stands. Oh, this is awful. Fans are getting involved. Steven Jackson's in the fans. Rasheed Wallace going into the stands. The security trying to somehow restore order. Fans and players are going at it, and the players trying to help each other out.
This is a disgrace.
All the players now, they're jumping in there to try and get the other players out because the fans have come involved. Oh, what a sad scene here at the Palace. And now another fight's breaking out in front of the Pistons bench. It's a fan on the court. This is very, very dangerous. Fans are throwing cups with liquid in them now onto the court. Ron Artest has a look in his eye that's very scary right now. You wonder if the official's going to let this game continue. Now they're throwing bottles out onto the floor. They're trying to get the Pacers to go back to the locker room. What was maybe you could call a hard foul at best has turned into just an ugly, ugly scene.
Chuck Person.
The officials, I think they're going to call this game off, and that should be. The outcome is definitely decided. You have these ridiculous fans trying to go at the players and now throwing. Somebody could really get hurt. This is a bad showing from the Pistons fans here. Just firing bottles from the stands. The Pacers have all gone back into the locker room, and they're getting thrown a lot of debris, and they're still not all the way through. And for some reason, one of the Pacers, they hold Austin Crozier out. They won't let him get under the tunnel because they're afraid for his safety. They're pouring liquid over. What a disgraceful showing from the Pistons fans here. That's one of the worst scenes I've ever seen.
This is an no moment in NBA history.
The players just have to get out of there. Get back to the locker room and forget about it. The game has been called. The official announcement has been made. The game has been called, which was the right call. The outcome obviously is over. And players and fans in danger with the emotions and the tempers being completely lost. It all started with a foul. Ron Artest with a foul that Ben Wallace deemed was too hard. As you see the Pacers going underneath the tunnel trying to cover their heads. You can see the debris, some of it being aimed at him, and a lot of it you can't see that's just missing wildly. The security did their best, but it had escalated to a point where there were players and fans fighting in the stands before there was enough security around. Let's go to Jim Gray.
Mike and Bill, I was sitting right next to Ron Artest when he was laying down before he went into the stands. A fan came and threw a beer and a bottle on him from point-blank range. When he got hit by that, he erupted. He knew exactly who it was, and he jumped right out after him. The fan got in very close proximity, and that's what triggered Ron Artest, who had been lying down even after Ben Wallace had thrown a towel at him. That's what triggered this, Mike. I was standing within a couple of feet of him.
That's what triggered the big brawl in the stands. You saw what just triggered the entire incident. Artest with a foul that he should have let go. He fouled Wallace from behind, but Wallace overreacted to that foul.
Certainly no winners in this circumstance at all.
It became such a dangerous situation. There you see Steven Jackson in there taking shot at the stands. And granted, it's very difficult when you're a player and the fans come at you, either physically or verbally, but you have to restrain yourself. You just can't respond to it. There were so many bottles and cups thrown. There's Artest after what Jim Gray reported. And you saw there was no security around at the time, and it was too late. Many of the players going in there to get Artest out of there. And it had seemed the whole thing had calmed down when that fan came at Ron Artest. And another incident for Ron Artest, so unfortunate. And again, the fan, hopefully security is able to get the fan and he'll receive proper punishment. But the overreaction.
All teams have been secured. Just leave the palace.
That was Larry Brown, who tried to make an announcement to the fans. So upset with what happened. And the Pistons have some great fans, but a lot of them tonight were an absolute disgrace, the ones throwing things and getting involved. The final score, with the game canceled before the time had run out, Pacers defeat the Pistons with a very... Now let's join John Saunders in our ESPN studio.
All right, thanks a lot. And gentlemen, you guys played the game. You've covered it longer than me, so I'll let you handle exactly what happened in the fight situation. But I'm here to tell you that the Piston fans, based on what I saw there, are a bunch of punks. It's easy to throw beer on top of somebody who's already down. It's easy to throw a punch at somebody when you're behind them. Shows that you're not a sissy. Just do it right. It just makes me mad. That is ridiculous. That's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Well, I think the first thing, you're going to have to address it from the standpoint of what is the league going to do about this? How is the league going to handle this? We know that the fans that we saw in Detroit tonight were an absolute disgrace. They should be ashamed of themselves. Some of them should be arrested as far as I'm concerned. But when you look at the situation from the league's perspective, you got to believe they're going to take a long, hard look at how this entire process started. All of us were sitting up here looking, and even though Artest fouled Ben Wallace, none of us viewed it as a flagrant foul or that hard of a foul. For Ben Wallace to react that way, the league is definitely going to look at that, and I would not be surprised at all if the league came down hard on Benny Wallace.
You know, and oftentimes when you look at scenarios that play out like that, the league has to take in consideration who instigates any type of fracas because, again, this is a very emotional game. As you saw Mr. Saunders display, it is sincerely very emotional. You get out there in the heat of battle. These guys are competing at the highest level for high stakes, and then to have the fans overreact like that. And you know what? It is a disservice and a discredit to the game because most of the fans in Detroit are great fans. I think some of the best they are. However, you can see a lot of this, I think, was initiated because of alcohol. There's no doubt about it.
You know, you look at the start of the incident. Obviously, it was triggered by Ben Wallace, his reaction to the foul by Ron Artest. Ron Artest, interestingly enough, just walked away. He tried to stay out of it. The Detroit Pistons fans are the ones responsible for the escalation of this, obviously, by pouring beer, by throwing objects onto players. Sometimes as a player, you're so emotional. The last thing you want to do is be subjected to that kind of abuse from a fan in the stands. And Ron Artest obviously wasn't going to have it. He went in there. The thing blew up. It's completely to blame. The blame should be put on the Detroit Pistons fans without question.
You know, the point you made, too, you even saw fans throwing punches. And I think the league has to look at it from a security standpoint, making sure you have enough able bodies there to really thwart any type of altercation here. You can just see there is not enough security within this whole scenario here that's going to prevent this type of fallout. And, you know, you hate to see it there. You see a fan throwing punches, and that, again, another fan throwing punches. You know, you hate to see that because the league, I thought, really off to a positive start.
Let's also keep in mind the fact that once that incident took place, you could see that Ben Wallace, once he saw how it escalated, how the fans had gotten involved, even he tried to restrain himself. Rasheed Wallace was in the crowd trying to separate guys. Several of the Indiana Pacers were trying to protect their players and stop the incident. And you saw fans literally, as these guys were walking through the tunnel, throwing beers on the... I mean, just horrible. I'm interested. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how the league handles this situation with its players.
I think John hit the nail on the head more than anything. It's just cowardly. Cowardly when you see people throwing punches that you know in any other situation, if they ever were face-to-face with any one of those athletes, they would turn and run. Instead, they know they're coming up from behind them. They're outnumbering the players 20-1. And they're throwing punches.
You know, the most unfortunate thing is even after that push by Ben Wallace, there was nothing else really happened other than the players kind of running and getting each other. You know, that happens all the time in the NBA. However, then you had the fans. You know, you just hate to see it, period. I mean, that's a bunch of crap.
Understand this. Ron Artest is laying on the scorer's table, and somebody threw a beer from the stands. That's how this really, really started. Hopefully, the league will recognize that.
I have never seen a situation covering sports where the players go into the stands where it wasn't first instigated by those fans. And I say it again, you're a bunch of punks based on what you did.
Crazy mother.